Hi students, it's Miss Lucas, and today I'm going to talk about your ear and hair drawing. Now, it might seem weird for you to start with ears and hair when we're going to talk about drawing people. You know, you might think it would start with something obvious like the shape of the face or eyes, but I really want you guys to build on your skills as you are learning how to shade, how to add shadow, how to add highlight, and this is the ears and hair are kind of basic lines and shapes and shadows, so I'm sort of just having you get used to the process. Now slowly we're going to build how to draw a person realistically, and today you have two options. So when you turn in your project for this drawing, you have two kind of approaches. Either you could draw a portrait like from the side, kind of like a like maybe your ear and your hair, add an earring, add an earbud, add I added a nice earring I like, add anything. You know, you could add you know, the corner of a hat, you could add a headband, anything you want, but from this view, kind of from the side. Or you could do a frontal view like this, but instead of, you know, having a face on your person, or on the person, or on you, if you're drawing a self-portrait, then it's kind of like this. You've got a blank face, and you're just drawing the hair and the ear from this view. So I did both. You can choose which one you're more comfortable with. I liked both, so you know, you can decide for yourself. But let's get started, and then if you have any questions, just email me. And I think that you're going to like this project because I liked making it as well. Alright, so you can see I started off like we always start off, with kind of a rough outline. I'm drawing the kind of a side view, and the way that I did this is, obviously it's really hard to draw the side of you if you are if it's you. So I didn't use a mirror, I actually took a picture. So I took my phone, I took a picture of kind of like the side view of my hair. You can do this with your webcam if you don't have a phone. You can do this with a camera. And I kind of just got an angle that I liked and started drawing it. And now you can see I just added the earring. I'm starting to add some shadows, some mid-tone shadows in the light. Now you can see this time I didn't start with a mid-tone all over. I started out with a rough sketch. Now the reason I did that is for those pencil people of mine, the people that didn't get charcoal and you are doing pencil. So here I am adding some kind of mid-level shadows, slowly but surely, and I'm going to start to add some highlights soon. So one thing that I really like about drawing hair is it's sort of freeform. You can just sort of create lines. Now I sort of followed the picture that I took, but I added a lot more than was there, just because I thought it would be fun. Now when I took this picture, it was kind of like a selfie, but it was right next to a lamp, so I could get my shadows. Here I am adding some darker shadows. The one thing I want you guys to notice as you're drawing is it's not an exact science. Like, a lot of me creating this is just sort of playing with it. You know, I'll do something, I won't like it, I'll erase it, and then I'll try something else. It's okay to throw out a couple pieces of paper, and it's okay to, I don't know if you guys, or maybe you guys are too young for Bob Ross, but when he made a mistake, he called it a happy little mistake, and he turned it into something else. So when I made a smudge here, and I think I turned it into a curlicue, so it's totally fine. Now, the one thing I really don't want you guys to do is, you tend to, when you're making hair, you tend to draw with really tiny lines really close to each other. I've noticed that about your portraits that you turn in. That's not what it's like. It's the same as anything else. It's shadows. So you can add the detail. You can see how right now I'm starting to add little, smaller, thinner strokes. You're allowed to add some for detail, but please don't compose your entire head full of tiny little lines, because that's just not how hair looks. When I look at a person, I'm not noticing every single strand of hair. Now you can see me zooming in. I'm starting to sort of add some shadows. As far as ears go, it's sort of just a series of shadows. You can see me adding the highlights here, and this is just highlights I saw in the picture that I took. So it's sort of just, I mean, there's a basic structure of the inner ear canal, but a lot of people's ears look different. The funny thing right here is you can see I started to add my earring, but I added it not on my earlobe, so I had to erase it. Just wait a couple of seconds, I'll erase it. But there you go. I added over with some charcoal. Now, it does take a lot of blending because the ear sort of is like kind of a soft looking, a more softer looking feature of a person. Here I am shading the jawline and just kind of like parts of the neck. Again, just going back and forth, playing with it, tweaking, small little tweaks, small little details. The only time you can stop is when you realize that you're sort of making some mistakes. So just like I went in with the thin lines for the darker brush, I'm going in and adding thin lines with the eraser. So if you have a kneadable eraser at home, you can do this by making it into a point. If you have a regular eraser at home, just use the edge. So then I realized that the erasing lines I made were too harsh, so I'm going over them again with my charcoal, which you can also do at home. Kind of blending these harsh shadows that I realized don't really look like what they're supposed to. And you see how I'm adding these little groups of highlights. Now I have curly hair, so that means it bends in and out. It has different dimensions. So part of that is kind of adding those highlights on each individual strand. If you have straight hair, yours will be less complicated, to be honest with you. And you might like to draw it a little bit better. I can see I'm adding some definition in the earring. I am adding the diamonds around it. I don't know why my program does that and it turns it red sometimes, but it's okay. Adding some more definition, adding some more highlights. And I think I ended up messing up on kind of the, oh, here we go, going in with a darker sort of mid-tone color. It's not the blackest black, but you can see how just adding that color is adding great dimension to what I'm trying to draw. But as I was saying before, you can, I was making a mistake. I was making a mistake kind of on the side of the way that I was drawing it, so I decided to make a wider border. A lot of art is just about problem solving. There's no right or wrong, there's no like yes or no. It's sort of a I need to problem solve and figure out what I should do to make this picture look the best it can look. Now, some of you will draw skinny little necks. If this is the view that you choose to do, a lot of you draw your necks to be stick skinny, and that's just not true. Necks are almost as thick as exactly as thick as your head, and go straight down from your ears. Keep that in mind. Here I am adding an even darker shade and blending it. If I was using, if it was going to be real charcoal, I would be blending with my finger instead of the blending tool. I'm about to zoom out and really add the finishing touches. Now, right where like my lips and my nose would start, I think I didn't like it. So you can see me making a border now. Now, the thing I didn't like is I had erased some of my hair in order to keep the border sort of even. But, you know, sometimes... Oh, I think I tried to add hair on the other side of my neck and then I decided against it. You can see the choices I'm making here. It comes to a certain point where if you're painting or drawing from a photograph, you kind of have to throw it out. And you kind of have to throw it out and do what looks best for your picture. I realized my neck was too skinny, so I'm making it wider. Be giving it some more definition, a bigger shadow, blending it all together, and I'm almost done. Sometimes you'll sign it and keep working on it for 20 minutes like I did. And there you go. Now, here's the second choice. I sort of played around with this a lot. I didn't like this at first, so you can see I'm about to erase it. Don't like it. And then I'm about to start it again. I'm starting my kind of rough outline there. I'm noticing the big trends, the big pieces of hair, the big curls, the big, the main structure of it. Now notice I'm not getting really detailed, I'm just sort of going in and filling in my shadows, kind of like we talked about what Da Vinci does. Da Vinci drew in the negative. So I'm sort of drawing in the negative. I'm going to add my shadows and then sort of go from there. Pay attention to the big trends and the main idea, and then sort of add detail, kind of like writing an essay. You want to get the main idea down and then add detail to support it. So same with drawing, you want to get the main structure down before you start to labor over every tiny little detail. There I am adding, now you can see where I added some shadow, where I grouped my lines together. I went in and I made them darker. Covered it with a midtone, and I'm continuing to go. Adding darker pieces, darker shadows, and then I'm going to go in with the highlights really soon. Now you can see I'm starting to add skinny lines. We don't want to start off with that, but I decided it's time, and there I go. More and more detail, more and more skinny lines, making it look like hair. I think at some point I decided my lines are too skinny. There's the highlight. I always tend to do this. This is just a trait of Miss Lucas's drawing style, where I'll add a lot of highlights and then I realize that there's too many and then I have to blend them. So here I am adding some more shadow back in. I had too many highlights and it sort of looked like I had streaked my hair with white, and I don't want that to happen. So I went ahead and kind of cut them down. Now the reason that I drew myself is not because you guys have to draw yourself. It's just a lot of times the reason that artists do self-portraits is because, well, you're always there. You're your most available resource. So here I am adding skinny lines, more and more shadows, more and more definition, and I think I'm going to declare it done here in a second. That's where my light source was, so I realized I wasn't really highlighting it. Went ahead with my eraser and lightened up the areas, which you can do with your charcoal. And then I think I fill in my shirt and I'm done. Ta-da! All right, so now you have your two choices. Have fun with it. Don't stress about it too much, and if you have any questions, send me an email. Thanks so much.